Materials used in this presentation are period in nature and used for educational and entertainment purposes. Furthermore, videos have been used in conjunction with the photographs to produce continuity, in some instances are composites, and fall within the purview of the fair use doctrine of U.S. copyright laws. Attributions are given when required.
Welcome to the True Crime Man's Dark Imagination YouTube channel, your source for interesting and factual crime. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can stay up to date on any future programs.
During a more in-depth search, police discovered the identified remains of Serena Abbotsway and Mona Wilson at the pig farm. Willie expressed surprise when the police charged him with the crime, and relatives of the identified two victims expressed anger that the police identified the pig farm as a potential murder scene 3 years after Abbotsway and Wilson disappeared. On March 8, 2002, investigators emphatically stated that DNA recovered from the pig palace matched Abbotsway. On April 3rd, authorities charged Pickton with 3 more counts of murder: Jacqueline McDonald, Heather Bottomley, and Diane Rock. On April 9th, authorities charged Pickton with another murder, that of Angela Joesbury. The court scheduled Pickton's trial for March 22nd, but detectives stated that it would probably take another year before they conclude their search of the farm. On May 22nd, Pickton was charged with the 7th murder, that of Brenda Wolfe. Her remains were discovered on the farm. During the time that women disappeared in the Vancouver area, several women in the 1980s disappeared near the area of Seattle SeaTac Airport. These women were mostly homeless, more than likely, addicted to drugs, and sold sex as a manner to support their habits. The remains of these women appeared at dump sites close to the airport and never on the Pickton farm. But was there some connection? Authorities had no evidence that Pickton may have been responsible for the Seattle SeaTac murders. Yet, when the police searched the pig farm, they discovered body parts and not whole bodies. Pickton appeared at that time to be the murderer of several women who, before, had been reported missing as investigators opened several refrigerators and freezers on the farm, and there they found grisly results: feet, heads, and hands of 2 missing women. The investigators also uncovered IDs, teeth, and women's clothes scattered throughout the residence and the farm. Police at this point, with the absence of whole bodies, believed that Pickton's wood chipper and his pigs devoured any more remains. The public took great interest in the Pickton case, but Canadian law blocked any developments in this case from appearing in the media. This law, and common sense ruled here, maintained that because this case was so grotesque and horrendous due to the evidence gathered and the acts of the accused, his rights had to be preserved so that the most minuscule infraction of procedure would see Pickton's escape from justice. Therefore, the public was held mostly in the dark when it came to the progression of the Pickton investigation. How did Robert Willie Pickton evade detection for so long? What were the origins of the Pickton line? Was it a line of killers that also escaped detection through generations of clandestine living? The origins of the Pickton family can be traced back to 1905, when Willie's grandfather, William Pickton, bought a tract of land near a former mental hospital in Port Coquitlam. For several generations after William Pickton's settlement in the area, the family bred and raised pigs. In the late 1950s, William and the family had to move because the Canadian government planned a major highway to go through the area. William's grandson, Leonard, along with his wife Helen, bought 40 acres of swampland and began cultivating the area into another pig farm. Leonard and Helen had 3 children, Robert, David, and daughter Linda. When Linda reached the age of majority, she married a successful businessman and moved to an influential area near Port Coquitlam. Robert and David remained on the farm to carry on the family business. In 1994, their farm was valued at over $7.2 million. The Picktons sold one tract of the farm for $1.7 million to a development company who turned it into a townhouse development. In that same year, the city of Port Coquitlam bought another tract of the Pickton farm for $1.2 million, where they made it into a park. And the city's school system bought another parcel of the Pickton land for $2.3 million that they turned into an elementary school. When the Picktons became millionaires, the disappearance of the women began. At approximately the same time, David Pickton left the family farm and moved to another location less than a mile away from the original tract of land. Then he opened up the Piggy Palace in 1996. Because of the financial windfall experienced through the sale of various parts of their farmland, Willie Pickton could do whatever he pleased, or so he thought. When the Piggy Palace opened, a longshoreman attended a Halloween party there. He described an event in detail he attended. "I arrived at the party at about 9 p.m. It was dark and raining and muddy, and there were lots of motorcycles, old cars, and a big pig roasting in a pit. There were kids in costumes, some dressed as witches. The little kids were running around playing in the dark. There wasn't much light. There were lots of women who looked like hookers. The party spilled over the grounds, and there were people in the house and in the trailer doing the wild thing. I recall walking by a shack with a 40-watt light bulb hanging over the door, and machinery was running inside. Here, I got a death chill. The hairs raised on the back of my neck, and my feet froze on the ground. I didn't want to be there anymore, so I left and walked home." The longshoreman made another observation about Willie Pickton. When the pig cooked in the pit appeared ready to eat, Willie tore the pig apart with his bare hands. His hands, noted the longshoreman, were filthy. Another observer, a woman, noted in a later interview that, quote, "I only went once and I never went again. It's a very raunchy crowd, lots of cocaine, lots of really, really badass people. I did not want to be a part of it," end quote. Later records of the events held at the Piggy's Palace reflect that not only were badass people there, but many of the city's leaders attended charitable events at the venue. By the time of being under suspicion, Willie Pickton was a very wealthy man, and the raising of the hogs at the farm became a hobby where he sold the meat or gave it away to friends. It appeared that the whole area feasted on the hogs slaughtered and cooked at the Pickton farm. Pigs, that authorities learned later, were used to dispose of human remains. Other parts of the pigs that Pickton failed to sell were brought to a rendering plant to be sold as other products. The West Coast Reduction Facility was located near where most of the women disappeared. Authorities strongly believed that after making deliveries to the facility, Willie picked up prostitutes within a block of the facility. Some of these women turned up missing. When the local population learned that parts of the bodies allegedly dismembered at the pig farm may have been added into the food chain, the public clamored for more information, despite the law dictating the release of information from the excavations that still occurred at the farm. In October of 2004, while Pickton remained in custody, charges were made that he murdered 8 more of the missing women at the farm. By the time he came to trial, after an excavation that cost the Vancouver authorities almost $70 million, authorities indicted Pickton for the first-degree murder of over 26 women. Robert William Willie Pickton's trial was supposed to begin on January 30th, 2006, nearly 4 years after his initial arrest, but because of legal wrangling and the admission of evidence, continuance after continuance subsequently delayed the start of the proceedings. When Pickton appeared for arraignment before trial, he pled, quote, "not guilty," end quote, to over 27 charges for first-degree murder. Justice James Williams rejected one of the 27 counts for lack of evidence. Justice Williams then broke the charges into 2 groups, one with 6 charges and the other with the remaining 20. Those latter charges would later be stayed and never tried. Justice Williams stated that his reasons for dividing the charges stemmed from the fact that the 6 charges had, quote, materially different, end quote, evidence from the other 20. Eventually, Pickton's trial started on January 22, 2007. Pickton faced first-degree murder charges in the deaths of Marnie Fry, Serena Abbotsway, Georgina Pappin, Andrea Jonesberry, Brenda Wolfe, and Mona Wilson. The media ban was lifted, and for the first time, Canadians could hear the brutal renditions of the murders. Upon opening the prosecution, Crown Counsel Darrell Pavitt stated that investigators discovered on the Pickton property skulls cut in half with hands or feet stuffed inside them, remains stuffed inside garbage bags, and blood-stained clothing found in the trailer in which Pickton lived. Additionally, investigators found the jawbone of one victim and her teeth found beside the slaughterhouse. Investigators also located a .22 caliber revolver with an attached artificial sexual device with both Pickton and a victim's DNA in the laundry room. Pickton explained in an earlier statement that he attached the device to the weapon to act as a silencer. Other items admitted into evidence that were found by the police at the farm included, but were not limited to, boxes of .357 Magnum ammunition, night vision goggles, 2 pairs of faux fur-lined handcuffs, a syringe with 3 millimeters of a bluish liquid, quote, Spanish fly, end quote, aphrodisiac, a videotape of one of Pickton's friends explaining a good way to kill drug-addicted prostitutes was to inject them with windshield wiper fluid, a second videotape by a friend of the defendant where he graphically describes that Pickton would handcuff and strangle the prostitutes and bleeding them, gutting them, and then feeding them to the pigs, and photos of the contents of a garbage can at the pig farm that contained the remains of Mona Wilson. Prosecutors believed the case to be complicated on its surface, and the mountains of evidence against Pickton pointed to a premeditation to murder these women. But to make it even more complicated, Justice Williams discovered that one of the jurors believed Pickton to be innocent before the trial even began, and that authorities, quote, arrested the wrong guy, end quote. The jurist questioned the juror and felt satisfied that she remained on the jury because it had not been proven to him that she made the remarks. Finally, on December 9, 2007, the jury found Pickton not guilty on 6 counts of first-degree murder, but found him guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder. The second-degree murder conviction carries with it a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for a period between 10 to 25 years, to be set by the trial judge. On December 11, 2007, Justice Williams, after reading victim impact statements, sentenced Pickton to life imprisonment with no possibility for parole for 25 years. The maximum punishment for second-degree murder and equal to any sentence for first-degree murder in Canada. After pronouncing sentence, Justice Williams offered his opinion on the case. Quote, Mr. Pickton's conduct was murderous and repeatedly so. I cannot know the details, but I know this. What happened to them, the women, was senseless and despicable, end quote. After this proceeding, both the defense and the prosecution fought over trial issues on appeal. On July 10, 2010, the Supreme Court of Canada ruled that Pickton's convictions would be upheld and his motion for a new trial denied. The British Columbia Crown Prosecutor's Office also stated that the other charges would likely be, quote, discontinued, end quote. Because if Pickton were convicted on any of those charges, his sentences would not be made any longer than they presently stood. Soon after this announcement, the Vancouver Police Department stated they reviewed the case, and the Deputy Chief Constable, Doug Lepard, issued an apology to the victims' families by stating, quote, I wish from the bottom of my heart that we would have caught him sooner. I wish that several agencies involved that we could have done better in so many ways. I wish that all the mistakes that were made we can undo. And I wish that more lives would have been saved. I would like to say to all the families how sorry we are for all your losses, and because we did not catch this monster sooner, end quote.
If you enjoyed our presentation of true crime, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to receive notifications on any future programs.